بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين. أحييكم بتحية الإسلام. I am أيمن محمد بكر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. In this video we are going to discuss what is the actual offering given by Islamic financial institutions or Islamic banks to the people in terms of the investments. Now, specifically, what is called Wadiah? Is it really Wadiah or is it really Mudarabah, and what is the difference between them? What are the implications? So let's start ala barakatillah. Let's first start with defining Mudarabah. Mudarabah is derived from the word ad-darbu fil ard. In other words, going on to journey, and in a sense it means earning money while going on to trading or doing other transactions during traveling, because in the past times people used to travel to earn. So the word mudaraba comes from that, and it means in English profit sharing. On the essence, one is giving capital and the other is, or the other partner is giving his efforts and doing the actual work of the investment. Now, the word mudarabah has other forms or other terminologies. Mudarabah is used by the Hanafi and Hanbali school of thoughts, while the Shafi'is and Malikis, they use the word qirad. And there are other scholars that use the word muqarada. So in all forms, it has the same meaning. Muqarada, mudaraba, or qirad. And qirad comes from the word, again is derived from the word qarad, or in other words qata' or qata', because the provider of the capital would actually cut off some of his money and provide it into the investment, and that's why it comes from that word. Now, the legitimacy of mudarabah comes from the Quran, from the Sunnah, from Ijma' and from Qiyas. Perhaps I'll do another video discussing more information about mudarabah, but it suffices here to provide the ayah and from Sunnah. The ayah in Surah Al-Muzammil, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وآخرون يضربون في الأرض يبتغون من فضل الله. It means, and others travel and seek the bestowments from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From Sunnah, we see that the Prophet ﷺ used to be a mudarib for Khadija radiallahu anha before they get married. He used to take her property and used to trade with these properties. So we see that there is a form of acceptance within our legitimacy within the Sunnah. Now let's just go directly to conditions. As I said, inshallah I'll make another maybe series of these contracts in Islam. But let's go to the conditions of mudarabah, so that we go next to the wadi'ah. Now, the first condition in mudarabah is that majority of scholars say that the property to be used or the capital to be provided should be of the form of cash. Any other form is not acceptable within mudarabah. There are other scholars who say other forms like real estate can be used, but the majority of scholars say that this can go into gharar about what is the value of these other forms of properties, and so people might get into disputes. In order to avoid these disputes, they say that the form of capital should be cash. The second condition is about the profit. The profit has to be predetermined in the contract. The mechanism of distribution of profit has to be predetermined. The amount of profit given for each partner in the contract should be known. By the way, mudarabah is a form of sharika contract. So, in this form, the Rabb al-Mal, or the capital provider, is responsible to provide the capital, and he's financially liable for any loss in that transaction. And the other partner, which is the mudarib or the entrepreneur, he is not liable financially, but any losses happening, he will be losing his efforts. So financial losses should be borne completely by the capital provider. So this is on the one hand, Mudarabah. Now we come to the Wadiah. Wadiah is custodianship. There are two forms of Wadiah. The first Wadiah is custodianship or safekeeping with trust. Custodianship or safekeeping with trust, and what is called in Arabic Yadul Amana. And the other form is custodianship with guarantee. So safekeeping with guarantee, and that is called Yadul Daman. So let's explain the difference. First, Wadiah, custodianship with trust, safekeeping with trust, is when a person comes and provides his asset, any asset, and gives it to the other person for safekeeping it. That's the actual or the original intention of Wadiah, is you give the asset to another partner or another person to safekeep it for you. Now, Yad al-Amana means the safekeeper or the custodian is responsible to safekeep the asset, but he is not liable for any losses unless these losses are due to negligence or misconduct or violation of the conditions or terms of the agreement. The reason for Wadiah basically is because people used in the past to go on long journeys and they used to leave behind some assets, so they wanted to safekeep their assets and therefore they gave it or put it with other people to safekeep it. So that's the original or basic actual reason for the Wadiah. Now the other part, which is the Wadiah Yadul Daman, in this case the custodian guarantees the return of the asset, and therefore he is responsible for giving back whatever or whatever happens. So any losses is borne by him and he has to give back the asset. Now the conditions for Yadul Amana or in trust, so safekeeping with trust. First, the custodian has to take care of the asset as if it was his own property. So he should put every effort to safekeep it. And therefore, he is not allowed to give it to a third party or to hire it or to lend it to someone else unless he takes the consent of the owner or the person who provides the capital. And also another condition is that any benefits accrued from the Wadiah, the custodian is not entitled for it. It is completely, or it goes completely to the owner. And then the last thing is that on request, the custodian has to give back the asset to the depositor or the person who gives or the owner. So he has to give it on request. It is also said that the custodian is allowed to take some service charges for safekeeping the product. But in this case, he will be liable for some losses unless he proves that the losses were not due to misconduct or negligence or violation of the terms or benefits. Now the conditions for the other part, for the other kind of Wadiah, which is Yadul Daman, the conditions are, first, the custodian is allowed, because he guaranteed the return of the asset, he's allowed to transact with it or trade with it, and any benefits accruing from it is completely for the custodian. The owner gets nothing out of it, because in this case, the Wadiah becomes like a qard. It becomes like a loan. And any benefit accrued should be completely for the custodian. Otherwise, you go into riba. And he is allowed, the scholar said, the custodian is allowed to give some benefit to the owner or to the person who's giving the asset, the depositor. He's allowed to give him some benefit as a gift, as a hiba. But first, it should not be stipulated in the contract, and second, it should not be a norm. It's only if he feels he wants to give it. So the owner or the depositor should not expect any return from it. It's completely for the custodian. Just not to go to riba. Again, I'm saying just not to go or fall into riba. And the last thing is that at any time the depositor requests back the asset he gave it to the custodian, the asset that he gave to the custodian has to return that asset to him. Now, the implications in Islamic financing is that if the Islamic financial institution or the bank told you that what you're giving to him, the deposit, maybe a saving account or a current account, in this case, if he says that this is Wadiah, and truly I think most banks would actually take it as Wadi'a Yadul Daman, because Yadul Amana cannot be taken into the form of a transaction and investment, and there is no benefit coming out of the Yadul Amana. So in case it's Yadul Daman and Wadi'a, this means any benefit accrued will not go to you, and you will not, as a depositor, take any benefit out of it unless the bank give it for you as a gift. And it should not be as a norm. Otherwise you might be, if it becomes a norm, if the bank gives you benefits and it becomes a norm, then they made like a deceit, they made a workaround riba, and it's riba at the end. Now this means in Wadi'a you cannot invest. But if they told you that this is Mudarabah, or otherwise they said it's Wadi'a, but you read the contract and you saw that all the description of the contract is what I described for Mudarabah, then it's not Wadi'a. Terminologically, they are using the wrong word, the wrong terminology. It's wrong. So they are actually using Mudarabah. And in Mudarabah, of course, you are entitled for profit. You are the capital provider, Rabbul Mal, and they are the Mudarib. The bank or the financial institution will be the Mudarib, the one who does the investment. But any losses should be borne by you, because the bank will be losing their efforts unless those losses are due to misconduct or negligence from their part or violation to the terms of the contract. I hope it became very clear for you the difference between Wadi'a and Mudarabah. And from now on, I think you're able and capable to understand the actual contract between you and the Islamic financial institution and what they are using. If you like it, please give it a thumb up and share it. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.